It is working this time. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Danielle Ralston, and this is also Tim Belansky with ND OutLoud. We're here talking about how hiring in the workforce landscape is changing and how it's so important for us to understand those changes and accept those changes and grow with those changes that are coming. We were talking about before we had major technical difficulties with everything. We were talking about how DEI has become this political thing that people are now shunning. One of the biggest HR organizations in the country just shunned even using the term DEI anymore. But I want to take it back because it's about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it helps those of us that have disabilities, whether they're hidden disabilities or visible disabilities. And it's things that we need and we need in the workplace. And I think one of the mental capacities that needs to change, mindset, that's the word I was looking for, the mindsets that needs to change in workforce is that the word accommodation needs to be taken out of the language, and support equity of everyone needs to be a thing, because obviously I've been using DEI initiatives since okay, I won't admit how long, the 90s, because I have learning disabilities. I've needed accommodations and things to make things better. And every time I implemented one of those things, even if nobody else on the team was or anything like that, everybody benefited from the changes.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm Tim Blonsky, and I am Danielle's much younger brother. That's always been the running joke. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to like we're currently in a place in which we're actually seeing the landscape change in real time. We're seeing history change in real time, and employers that are innovative and have unique approaches to retaining and obtaining workforce are the ones that are succeeding in today's job market. And like we'll probably dive in some of the nerdy numbers that are involved in this, but the bottom line is that the landscape is changing, and there's actually kind of an interesting correlation here. I'm wearing this Stanley, Idaho hat, and my background is Stanley, Idaho. Right now, Stanley, which is probably the most beautiful part of Idaho, is going through a major landscape change, a major fire that right now is at 75,000 acres, and that just it's going to completely change the landscape of the most beautiful part of Idaho. And I'm actually very, very sad about it, but it is what it is. It's going to change. Fires happen. It was caused by lightning. It's a natural part of, just ecology. But it's kind of sad, but you know, we as Idahoans are going to have to adapt to the change, just like on the national scale when it comes to labor and market and workforce and intelligence. All of that is going to change as well. And yeah, DEI. Yeah, we're in the midst of a political, time right now where, we've got to be very, very careful on how we touch on things, and we don't want to offend one side. One side, you have all the controversy that's happening, but it's not a derogatory term. It really is not.
Absolutely not. It has allowed me as a almost 50-year-old adult to find success in the workforce because those things have existed. And yes, language changes, yes, language evolves, but we need to be really, really careful that just because we're removing language, we're not taking away. And unfortunately, we're seeing some companies take this whole thing out just completely away versus adapting language. And language is so, while it's really important, the results of whatever it stands for are the most important thing. And that's part of why we're here. I mean, I am ADHD. I'm ADHD and autistic combined with multiple learning disabilities. And then I have some really serious chronic health issues. And all of that means I've had to adapt my workspaces over the years. In some ways, I've had to adapt is transcription software. I mean, back in the 90s, when I first started, the software was terrible and it helped, but it helped marginally. Recording calls was not a thing, at least not an easy thing. I literally had a tape recorder on my desk that I would hit when I first started recording calls and stuff way back when, and then I had to transcribe them myself. Now right now we have closed captioning on our screen. We have a note-taking translator in here, and then we have an AI summary that's happening all right this second in real time while we're on this call. And there are companies that are refusing to implement just these things that are built into pretty much every single system out there. And then Tim, you're using something, please, your Translate Live, please explain what that is.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. And I'm hard of hearing, so when it comes to language access and like utilizing technologies that currently exist, it's something that's very passionate to me. It's interesting because my girlfriend who's hard of hearing, she and I went to a story night last week where there were no interpreters. We didn't request them, like it was sort of like the last second sort of thing. And we had our iPhones out, and we were able to have all the conversations captioned in real time through just the captioning app on our iPhone. So like I love where technology has come. But yeah, hopefully my virtual background doesn't play into this too much here. But yeah, and so I'm gonna have to change my background, which I'm gonna do real quick. Um, let's see here. Um, I want no background. And no, there we go. Okay. So this is my Translate Live, which is a company that I've been partnering with that based out of Florida. And the owner of the company and really most of the employees are individuals that kind of understand the deaf experience and know sign language, and they're probably the most deaf-friendly company I have ever met. And the CEO is very well versed in developing technology that had increased access for deaf individuals to have interpreters in hospitals in real time, because sometimes you can't wait 45 minutes for a live interpreter to come in for an emergency situation. So he's been able to utilize technology. So in this instance, this is I don't I don't know, I'm having a connection issue. Um, so the had right now 209 different languages that can be translated in real time through AI. And then let's say here for Spanish, there are all the different dialects of Spanish that are included in this as well. And there is access to ASL interpreters as a part of this as well. So Translate Live has um, contracted with me basically to get that integrated into workforce development programs, because what we're seeing in real time is workforce development programs really are in a place in which they cannot leave any stone unturned when it comes to accessing people within their specific regions to help them understand how they can get well-paying jobs. Because really, when it comes down to it, if you have skills, you can have sustainable employment. If you don't have skills, you're in a place in which you're struggling. And there's a lot of people that have skills, but there may be a language barrier. And this is something that is a part of that. So I'm so proud to partner with them. It's been very successful. Um, and so this is just this platform is being used by deaf and hard of hearing individuals and individuals with other types of language barriers to have like amazing employment for the U.S. Department of Defense and Homeland Security, and we're currently talking to FEMA about integrating this into their workforce. So like it's incredible. It's $2,500, which is that's about what it costs, 24.99. Um, which is not really that much money when you can have a sustainable employee that is going to put forth a viable contribution with in a place in which we're having a worker shortage.
Yeah, and we have worker shortage. So let's talk about some of those geeky numbers. What is the shortage that we're looking at having over the next 5 to 7 years?
Yeah, so the us workforce nerds and economists have a term for this. It's called the demographic drought. And basically, we have, yeah, I'm going to put out a bunch of numbers, so apologies in advance, but there are 72 million baby boomers that are currently in the workforce, or they're sort of transitioning. 1.4 million baby boomers are going to retire every year between now and 2030. And at that point, they're going to be gone from the workforce. the next generation, which is Danielle and I. Danielle is on one end of it, I'm on the other end. I just want to be clear on that. But so when it comes to that, that workforce, which is the Gen X, has 61 million people in it. So 61 million people is being tasked with replacing 72 million people. Then
Well, and to be clear, for those of us at the top end of the Gen X, we're getting ready. I mean, I'm 20-ish years from retire. Okay, I'm not. I'm not even 20-ish, 18 years from retirement. I mean, I'm 18 years from retirement. And I am midpoint for my generation. So there are those in the Gen X area who are looking at retiring now.
yeah, yeah, I know, absolutely. And then like with that, we also have subsequent generations after that. We have labor participation rates that are fairly low. So like when it comes to the millennial generation, the participation rate is about 67%. So that means there's basically just a little less than half of that cohort of that generational cohort is not even participating in the workforce, or they're participating in the gig economy where they are Grubhub and DoorDash
Well,
drivers and
or
that
12 freelancing jobs.
right.
Or like I know I have clients because I work with ADHDers and as a coach, and I have one client who has 9 jobs, 9 contracts.
Yeah. And we can go into the economic conditions that require people to work 9 jobs. That's a whole other discussion. But the bottom line is that is the changing landscape that we're currently in. And like as an employer, are you going to adapt to these changes, or are you going to have old archaic hiring process practices where, it's an online application and a, 72 question personality profile test that you need to take, and then you wait
And
six
then
months.
you also don't accommodate for mental health needs. Mental health is a conversation that we need to be having more often. You're refusing to allow any accommodations or making the access to accommodations so difficult at best. I'm being nice.
Yeah.
I have a client who had to go through a 22-step interview process to use Otter AI.
Yeah.
22 steps. That's just horrible. When as soon as she did get it implemented, her whole entire team now wants access to the notes. A whole entire team of 200 people now want access to her Otter AI notes that took her 6 months to get. When now the team is more productive. Now the team, I mean, these 90%, I think it's 98% of accommodations that people are asking for. One, they're either bringing in themselves noise canceling headphones, light blocking glasses, all of these things. They bring in themselves. They're just asking to be allowed to use them at work, and workplaces are not allowing it. We're making it difficult to ask to do that, or they're just denying them. And I have out of my very small client base right now, I have 3 clients working with the ADA with lawsuits against companies. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, we're in a worker shortage, but so by doing that, you're preventing yourself from getting incredible talent that's waiting out there that wants an opportunity, and they will provide contributions to your company that will increase your productivity. There's been studies that have been done about this, that when you hire individuals with disabilities, and you create a culture of inclusion and disclosure, then you're in a place in which your current employees are like, hey, I have a disability too, and if I get this particular accommodation, I'm therefore going to be a lot more productive in my current job. Um,
And I want to be there, which makes me more productive. So I have a ton of articles out there about managing neurodivergent, because that's my specialty, is neurodivergent employees. And just by allowing your neurodivergent employees to work to their strengths, you are increasing your whole entire team's productivity by 78%.
yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah.
We're saying let your employees who are good at things do the things they are good at and accommodate the few things that they're asking for. And not very rarely is anybody actually asking for an accommodation that's unreasonable.
Yeah. Well, like one of the accommodations that I've had in the past, in one of my jobs before I moved out here to Idaho, I was the first deaf employee for this company. And the desk that I had at the time was such that someone would have to come behind me and get my attention to be able to talk to me about whatever work-related thing that they need to talk about. And I simply asked for them to shift my desk another way so that I'd be able to see someone coming. So I therefore would be able to converse with them. Because the last thing in the world you want to do to a deaf person is come up behind them and scare
Startle
the
them.
right. So that was, it was just a very simple accommodation where we had the workers come and just basically shift my desk in another direction. Boom, done. So like it's not that hard. It's not that complicated when it comes to me as a new employee or as an employee that's been a part of your company for 5 years. Um, because that then plays into circling back to a point that I made is that as an employer, you need to be in a place in which you have a culture of disclosure, where you, as an employee, whether you're a new employee going through a hiring process or a current employee, is that you feel comfortable disclosing that you have a particular disability and that you may need help or some type of support in some way. And if you're creating that sort of culture, then as you said, Danielle, you're in a place in which you have happy employees. Because it doesn't really come down to pay. Pay is important. Having, whatever your rate of pay is and having something that's competitive in the market for that particular role is important. But it's the culture, it's the acceptance, it's the inclusion, um, getting into the very dangerous DEI space. That really even comes down to it. You want a place in which your employees feel heard. That's that
Absolutely.
simple.
And by being open enough to be able to have these discussions and be willing to have these discussions publicly, your employees will share with other employees, will share with other employees. It will end up on Glassdoor. If you want to be a company who is going to survive all of these people leaving the workforce, you need to get verbal and get visible about your, if you do talk about disclosure and accommodations and all of that, you need to be verbal and visible about that so that you get the best talent. Because let me tell you, especially again with a neurodivergent, profoundly deaf, hearing impaired people, that does not affect their ability to do a job at all. And in the neurodivergent community, especially when you get into autism and things like that, those are your literal geniuses. And I say that because I live in a household with 3 registered geniuses.
Yeah,
Don't you want the person that has 4 master's degrees working for you because they know what their passion is and they're amazing at it? You're not, at this point, many companies don't even have the space, the aren't having the conversations that those people will even look at you for a position.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so, that's why, like it comes down to that, you have expertise from in individuals, and like I'm trying to be humble when I say this, but I have expertise that I can bring to the table with an employer in which I can help them with establishing and setting up programs that can then help them with future success. Danielle, you do it well. You've had a track record with quite a few employers that you talk to. Like, talk a little bit about like what that looked like and like how much
So
it cost.
so something that we do is we come in and we actually have a survey that goes out to your whole entire workforce, and we send the survey out, find where their strengths are, find where the weaknesses as a workforce, not as an individual. We're not looking to single anybody out at all. That's one thing we definitely don't do, is single anybody out at all, and just create a more inclusive and better supported workforce, your whole entire workforce. Some statistics that we have is with the survey, we found in the companies that we went in and sampled with that 73% of the workforce was hidden disability or neurodivergent. 73% of companies have disabled employees on the payroll already. So what if you enabled their strengths and increased your productivity? When I work with, and I go in and I work with a team, neurodivergence, obviously this is my expertise, but I go in and I work with a team of with neurodivergent employees. We have increased time over 80% productivity, over 80% in less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. And so I know and
And everything is simple, like nothing. We had one instance where it cost the company $50 a year to increase their productivity by 80%.
right, right. And how much money have they saved
Increasing productivity by 80%. They went from a sales team who had strategically low for a whole entire year of sales, and we increased to 80% in less than 3 weeks. This was a sales team I'm talking about. So increasing their productivity increases your bottom line, which increasing your bottom line, $50 is nothing. And now their employees are like hitting goals and surpassing their goals every single month.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like on the flip side, when it comes to individuals with ADHD, with neurodivergence, we have quite a few tools that we can give them to help them with their own personal productivity. So you have company side where, like on the corporate level and helping them implement programming and structure and infrastructure in place to help those employees. But then we also have things in which we can help neurodivergent individuals with, like even something that's so simple as body doubling, and just having someone in your presence while you're completing the task, therefore increases the productivity. Just helping those with ADHD with that. So yeah,
I've got 3 corporate employees at work right now doing body doubling in my program right now. They're getting tasks done. So far, 12 tasks have been done today.
yeah,
Just by something that simple. And that's one of the things that we offer here at ND OutLoud is we have a whole entire program that you can offer as a benefit program as a company to get your individual employees the support they need. We've taught them how to plan better, how to time manage better, how to prioritize better. I mean, those are all things that we work with our employees on every single day. But it's when we support our staff, and this goes for me too, because I have a whole entire staff. I have a whole entire staff of hidden disability, neurodivergent, physical disability people. That's who I staff, and that's all I will hire. That I have to have accommodations for every single one of them. Every single one of them does things slightly different from each other. And we have created systems for our whole entire team to make sure that everybody has what they need and they can thrive in their environments.
yeah. And then like, Danielle, you and I really kind of like started our relationship, and I'm signing for a specific reason. That like it got me wondering about like deaf people, and like how you have deaf people that also have ADHD, or neurodivergence, and like I can imagine that the struggle of kind of having a language barrier, just like uh different stimuli, because when you have a deaf person, you have one less stimulus that but then other things are heightened and all that. Um, so I'm really excited about the possibility of seeing how we can maybe touch the deaf community around the United States and really around the world, and like how we can really help them understand that, like with the ADHD, and how that may affect their relationships, their careers, like really every part of one's life can not so much be affected, because that's kind of a negative term, but like there's definitely something there that influence affects at the same time. Sometimes it could be confused with ASL, that some of the signs are the same, but so like I'm excited about that piece, and I know Danielle, you and I need to take that off and figure out like what our next steps are with that. But um, I don't think there's anyone in the field that focuses on the deaf population and ADHD and autism and all that. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
So with that combination, so why have we connected? So we're siblings. So we are siblings. I've grown up in a hearing impaired deaf household. I grew up with that. I am not hearing impaired myself, but I am autistic and ADHD. And learning just to adapt to our own household growing up and as adults. And I mean, I went down this path and I'm continuing down this path. I'm back in school in graduate school to further my degree that ADHD brains don't not just need life coaching. They don't just need health coaching. They need life coaching, health coaching, relationship coaching, mindset coaching, goal coaching, executive function coaching. We need all of these pieces. So I'm now like 30 plus certifications into learning all of these protocols, and my team does as well. And I have special ed behavior modification teachers on my team because it's such an important part of understanding how all of the pieces fit together.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, we've already talked about like our childhood and how it was so interesting that my deaf and hard of hearing program that, keeping in mind that our parents built their dream home. It just happened to be in a town that had an innovative program that,
In
um,
the middle of nowhere, like middle of nowhere.
yeah, on a dirt road across from a cornfield on top of a mountain. Yeah, and and then obviously, I think the day I was born was the day they moved into the house, and there was 10 months later they found out that I was deaf. And but so like that obviously benefited me. I got the best of both worlds with the ASL and the speech therapy and all that. And I'm one of those deaf people that really feel that really benefited from having that balance that I had in my education. But it helped you to know
Oh
with
yeah, with this deaf and hard of hearing teacher saw me struggling, not getting what I needed in a normal classroom, and pulled me out of that, pulled me into the deaf program, and gave me all of the same things that he was getting, even though I'm not hearing impaired, and gave them all to me so that I have multiple degrees now, and I'm in my graduate program, and I've owned successful businesses, and I've worked successfully in the corporate world for many years, and have all of those connections and stuff because someone took the time to teach me to learn the way I needed to learn.
yeah. And that's an interesting point when you think about that. Well, maybe employers need to be doing that with their current and new employees. So we're not moving mountains. We're not like changing the world. It's just a slight tweak in perspectives and approaches for current and new employees, from the hiring process all the way for the full life cycle.
For the full life cycle. And like I did a training a month ago where I taught neurodivergent employees to use a second brain. And what a second brain system is just carrying a notebook around with all of the things in it that you need, and understanding how to write things down and how to utilize it and how to prioritize. And one of my people that is in the corporate world just got a promotion because he started using something this simple, and it was a 20-minute training that just helped him implement and use and accommodate his brain in a way that worked for him. I think we may have lost Tim there for a second. So how can you as an employer, how can you create a better environment for your team? It's giving them 20-minute trainings. It's giving them the support to understand how their brain works in the situation that their brain needs. Something as simple as learning to use a bullet journal system. And this is all this is a bullet journal system. Mine's a little fancy because I like Post-it notes, but it's understanding how something so simple, a quick 20-minute training and showing somebody what they were struggling with and how to adapt it to their brain. And now he's getting a promotion in a month.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. By the way, I lost you for a second,
Yeah, we
and
lost you for a second. I
yeah,
kept going. You're
yeah,
good.
yeah. Okay, good. So like I agree with your point, but I'm not fully sure what your point was. But I'm sure it was a good point. But yeah, I mean yeah, it comes down to it's not overly complicated, and that's what a consultant in the field does. It just simplifies your internal processes and really kind of look at things from a very unbiased viewpoint. Like we don't come in with judgment and say, you're wrong for doing this and that. It's really about just helping you understand like how you could just do the slight tweaks, and that investment and that time that you take in doing that is going to pay dividends in ways that you cannot imagine in a place in which there is a worker shortage. So really, you have no choice. Like you need to have a more unique approach in how you go about all of your current processes when it comes to hiring and retaining employees.
You have to change. And then we're looking at this Gen Z generation, which my son is part of, and they're just not having any corporate BS. But like they won't even consider it because they've seen what their parents have gone through, which is the Gen X and millennial generation, and they're not willing to make those sacrifices. They want experiences, they want good relationships, they want disclosure, they want to be comfortable, they want mental health support, and if you aren't providing those, they just aren't going to even consider you, and they're starting their own businesses. There's so many more young people, which is exciting for me as an entrepreneur to see all of these 20 somethings just starting their own business. They don't bother going to corporate, they just start their own businesses.
Yeah, yeah, might as well. They're not going to deal with
They won't
that
even apply. Like they're not even considering it because there is such a environment of control and not disclosure and no accommodations and not being willing to adapt environments. They're just not even willing to look at
Yeah.
it. And this is why the visibility and message has to change.
Yeah, right. And now I'm gonna get into something that's slightly controversial, and so apologies in advance, but that's especially in that political environment that we're in these next few months. Is a lot of this is the fact that you still have baby boomers that have not adapted, that are still running these companies and will hold on to them until their dying breath. Um, and that is it's going to really hurt your legacy and really your name and your word. And we're seeing this on the political level where we have baby boomers that just they I mean they basically control the government, and that's kind of where we're at. So I'm on both sides of the aisle. I'm not going to center on one
Yeah,
end.
yeah. There is no side of the aisle that does any of the things that we're talking about the businesses should be doing at this point.
Yeah. So I just want to have a little shout out to all the baby boomers. If you want to have a legacy that is sustainable, you need to be open to change.
You have to. And there's some of us that bridge that gap in between the boomers and the Gen Zers. Come talk to us. But we've created a way to make this easy for you too, and that's something that we've done here at ND OutLoud. We have workforce development, we have labor intelligence, we have our wide survey that we have use, and then we bring in the consultants to take a look at all of the data. We're not looking at feelings, we're not looking at whatever's politically correct to say or any of that. We're looking at actual data and going, this is how we can fill these gaps, this is how we can hire you the right people, this is how we can support those people, this is how we can increase productivity to your team, this is how we can support your team through other programs, coaching, training for your managers, training for your employees, all of these things, all in one consulting package, because we believe we know what you need, because we do this in small business world every single day. A lot of these small businesses are willing to have these conversations. Corporate just needs to come on board and have these same conversations so that you don't lose. Because if your retirement plan was that your company was going to still be making $5 billion a year, well, you want to actually be able to continue enjoying your retirement, correct? In order to do that, you have to adapt and change.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So let's talk maybe just very briefly on the amazing opportunity that you and I had earlier this month with a major company that is open and wanted to have a couple of experts like you and I on for a workshop. And I think that went really well. And that just kind of an example of what you as an employer, hopefully we have people that are watching this to kind of understand the importance of having to simply come on for a 45-minute workshop where we had employees really have an opportunity to kind of express their perspective and struggles and the thing that they were thankful for what their employer had been doing and what they could potentially work on going forward. Yeah, that was amazing.
So we went in, we did this training, and it was just 45 minutes. We did 30 minutes of training and then 15 minutes of question and answer. And people started sharing actual stories of where they were struggling. And because this company had an amazing support center and their advocates on there, those people, every one of those employees that expressed frustration about something about their jobs are getting the help that they need right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they connected on me with me on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for saying that one thing, because I thought of this one thing and now I've gotten help with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes employees, because we're so afraid, or they are so afraid to share their stories and share what they're struggling with, until somebody comes in to ask those questions, they don't realize how they can have things be better for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So like having independent voices come in to be that venting ground, I guess, for that. It's just so valuable.
It was really powerful. And I connected with so many people on LinkedIn after that training, employees who have connected with both Tim and I. And it's so powerful to see that something as simple as a 30-minute, just us sharing our stories and how we work and what we do and how managers can adapt and all of those things can change somebody's life.
Yeah. Yeah. Not just their careers.
Yeah. Personal lives, and one of them is now a full-time client of mine, because they were like, I need your help because I need this to be better. This one thing, you helped with this one thing, can you help with more? And often it's, again, we don't know what we need help with until somebody says, hey, did you know you could? And again, just a 30-minute training was all it took for many people like that. So that's something we're open to coming in and speaking. We're open to consulting. We're open to one-time things, long-term things. We are here to change the landscape of the hiring and labor force, because it needs to change. We know it needs to change, but we want to do it in a way that's going to benefit the company. Because there's a lot of consultants that will come in and to benefit only the employees or only the company. And there's always this gap of something just doesn't work right, and something's not working together. You have to look at everything as a whole, because you have to look at the bottom line of making money in a company. That's what a company is there for, is to make money, to grow, to expand, all of these things. But if your employees aren't getting what they need, you're not getting what you need, and it becomes this horrible snowball effect. Well, let's look at both, because both need to be considered when you're coming in for some of these things.
Yeah. So, I look forward to a lot of conversations about this, because there's lots of layers in that you just can't touch on in a 45-minute conversation. So I know we're going to make that sort of a recurring thing where
we're going to every Wednesday, we're going to go live and we're going to talk about this. We're going to be live on YouTube and share it to LinkedIn, Facebook, and all of the places. So please join us. If you have questions, if you are an employer and want to ask us questions live, come on and we'll do a live consultation with you. We're happy to. If you are a manager and you want to explore how you can better support your employees, come ask those questions. We are always happy to answer your questions. Please just let us know how that we can help, because we want to be those voices of change. We want to help. It's not just because we're here to make money. It really is. We want to change the world. It's why I do every single thing that I do. Yeah, I'm too old. I am too old to just be focused on the money aspect of anything anymore. I want to make a change, because that matters.
Yeah.
And yes, I just called myself old, and my brother here will definitely jump on that later. I hope you have an amazing day. Again, we're Tim and Danielle from ND OutLoud. You can find us at NDOutLoud.com. We have a consulting page on our website, here on LinkedIn, on YouTube. You can find us everywhere. We are here to support you. Have an amazing day.